Welcome back to 1834. Le Bourdonnais is still winning 4 games to 2, and it's the first to win 6 games that will take this 4th match. Today's guest commentator is the BBC. Let's begin. We have e4, c5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and they're playing the same as in the previous game, which ended in a draw after 56 moves. The BBC says this is misinformation, which means one of us is lying. We have d4, c captures, and it's not me that's lying. The knight captures, and last time Le Bourdonnais went for e5, but this time he captures with the knight first, and we have the queen captures in the centre. Le Bourdonnais continues with e6. We have bishop to c4 from McDonnell, knight to e7, knight to c3, and now knight all the way across to c6. This threatens the queen, so the queen goes back to d1, bishop to c5, clearing space for castling. Actually, both players have done this. The BBC says that they have concerns about hate speech on this channel, which they say they certainly have seen. However, when pressed, they say they can't give any concrete example because now they say they never actually watched this channel. So both players castle, and you can see that there's a pin now on the king here, so McDonnell unpins. And Le Bourdonnais goes on the attack with f5, so McDonnell captures, and now a sensible continuation for Le Bourdonnais might be to push his central pawn to d5, but instead he captures the f-pawn with the rook, and this enables McDonnell to activate beast mode. Let's go. He brings his bishop back to d3. Aha, says the BBC, how come it's the Irishman that gets labelled a beast? That's hate speech. But then they go very quiet because they remember he's playing as white. We have rook back to f8. And McDonnell brings his queen out to h5, which attacks the pawn in the corner twice with the bishop and the queen, while simultaneously attacking the undefended dark square bishop. So what can Le Bourdonnais do about this? He decides to try to block everything by bringing his rook out. This blocks the path of the bishop to the corner, whilst also blocking the queen from the dark square bishop. But it does allow the white bishop to capture the rook, and after recaptures, the white queen to capture the black pawn. Now, I'm sure the BBC are itching to say something about all of this, but let's slap a government-funded media label on them for them to cry about instead. If you look very carefully, you'll see them starting to sweat a little bit. And the game continues. We have d6, which reveals an attack on the queen. So the queen moves across to d5, which gives a check, which means the king has to move aside. It goes to h8. Notice now that McDonnell is winning by a whole pawn plus a rook for a bishop, but Le Bourdonnais is choosing to play on regardless. And McDonnell continues his attack with bishop to g4, threatening the queen. He's also fully developed now. The queen moves across to f8, and we have knight to e4, attacking the dark square bishop again. But for now, Le Bourdonnais leaves that alone and brings his knight out to attack the white queen. So the queen comes back to b3, and at this point, the BBC spit their dummy over the label and flounce off. But Le Bourdonnais keeps going. He plays his bishop to f5 to threaten the knight, so a rook comes across to defend it, and the bishop goes back to d7. We have a4, and it was at this point that Le Bourdonnais saw no way to recover the game. He spat his dummy too, resigned, and stormed off to the bar to get more drinks. So well done, McDonnell. He's now trailing by only 1 game at 4 games to 3, and I'll see you again next time.